to build those neural connections. Critical thing to do, of course, is
Yeah.
make sure you've got good quality fish oils to help your brain grow and develop.
Wow. It was a beautiful thing to witness. This intelligent little child. He's really special too. So we're doing a whole different topic with this particular show. We're actually talking about infertility and the connection with inflammation, which you really will never hear from any fertility clinic. It's not like you're going to walk in there and the doctors are going to go, well, let's check your inflammation levels. Or I wonder if this is why you're not getting pregnant. It's just not something you'll hear about.
Yeah, it's close to malpractice, excuse me, but it is close to malpractice. There are hundreds of studies. A study came out 8 months ago looking at women, premenopausal women. 24.7% of them have chronic endometritis. The inside of the uterus, the endometrium, is inflamed. 1 out of 4 women. And that's like, wait, what? And then the whole study talks about how that affects the success of implantation.
Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Dr. Lowe Show. I am just tickled with joy that I have my amazing friend, Dr. Tom, back on the show. He should feel very cool because he's been on more than any guest. And he's one of those guys that you just never know what he's going to say. He always has something new to share. He just lives this medicine, and we just love to enjoy brain candy and geek out and learn about new research and just ways to kind of challenge the status quo and bust myths. And he always has something to teach that you will never hear anywhere else. So I just knew I had to have him back. And a little bit about my guest. He really is the Sherlock Holmes for chronic disease. He teaches that recognizing and addressing the underlying mechanisms that activate an immune response is the map to the highway towards better health. He holds teaching faculty positions with the Institute for Functional Medicine and National University of Health Sciences. He's trained and certified tens of thousands of practitioners around the world in advanced understanding of the impact of wheat sensitivity and the development of individual autoimmune disease. His most recent book, You Can Fix Your Brain, just 1 hour a week to the best memory, productivity, and sleep you've ever had. That's a big promise. That's amazing. Was published through Rodale Books to global accolades and ranked #1 in several brain categories on Amazon. And this bestseller offers a step-by-step approach to better cognitive function, from nutrition to environment to toxicity, ultimately creating a better long-term memory and a sharper mind. And you will see with my friend here, he's very sharp. And, it seems like with every passing year, that sharpness just stays sharp. So it's, he's definitely someone who lives.
One can hope.
Yeah. He's written other books as well that are just amazing. He released Betrayal, the autoimmune disease solution they're not telling you, which is an investigation into why our immune system, designed to protect us, begins attacking our own tissues. And there's over 500,000 people worldwide who have watched that docuseries. You can check that out at betrayaldocumentary.com. And one of my favorite books that he's written is The Autoimmune Fix. Groundbreaking. It was winner of the National Book Award. It outlines the step-by-step development of degenerative diseases and gives the tools to identify our disease process years before the symptoms are obvious, which I love, and how to turn your health around one step at a time. He's also the founder of the coolest website, thedoctor.com. I love it. And the visionary behind the Gluten Summit, A Grain of Truth, which brings together 29 of the world's experts on the gluten connection to diseases, disorders, and a wide range of symptoms and ages. And you can find that at theglutensummit.com. So amazing things you can learn from this man. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to dance with you.
Yeah, I love it. And we are dear friends. I had the joy of coming to visit you down in Costa Rica and bring my little wild child down there, and I got to have like a nice little escape to nature. And I know that you guys have moved now to Italy, and you have a beautiful property there with a lush garden, and you're raising your own little one. How old is Gio now?
He's 4, about 4, not quite 4.5, in kindergarten. And today was the first day when Marzi picked him up from school. The older boy said, "Gio didn't cry once today. High five, Gio. High five, Gio." And he's all proud, because he's the youngest in the school right now. And so it's hard for someone when you're the youngest and you don't process the same way, but he's growing leaps and bounds every day. It's just remarkable to see.
Yeah. Do they speak Italian in his school?
Every sentence is in Italian and then in English.
Oh, wow.
every sentence. So all the children are at least bilingual. And because my wife is Polish and she only speaks to him, almost not exclusively, but primarily Polish, he speaks three languages. And because,
Wow.
we were in Costa Rica for the first 3 years of his life, and the nanny and the cook only spoke Spanish. If he wanted to eat, he had to speak to them, right? And so,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
his neural connections are great, and I'm making sure he takes plenty of fish oils to build those neural connections. Critical thing
Mhm.
to do, of course, is
Yeah.
make sure you've got good quality fish oils to help your brain grow and develop.
Wow. It was a beautiful thing to witness. This intelligent little child. He's really special too. So we're doing a whole different topic with this particular show. We're actually talking about infertility and the
Yeah.
connection with
Mm.
inflammation, which you really will never hear from any fertility clinic. It's not like you're going to walk in there and the doctors are going to go, well, let's check your inflammation levels. Or I wonder if this is why you're not getting pregnant. It's just not something
Oh,
you'll hear
yeah,
about.
yeah, and it's close to malpractice. Excuse me, but it is close to malpractice. There are hundreds of studies. A study came out 8 months ago looking at women, premenopausal women. 24.7% of them have chronic endometritis.
Wow.
The inside of the uterus, the endometrium, is inflamed. 1 out of 4 women. And that's like, wait, what? What? And then the whole study talks about how that affects the success of implantation into the endometrium. And if the fertilized egg does implant, its growth and development, the inflammation is a primary trigger. And unfortunately, fertility specialists, and thank God we have them because they've helped so many thousands of families have a family, which
Yeah.
is, it's a beautiful thing. But, once they hear about this, and every single one of them hears about inflammation, and, sometimes, doc, I went gluten free and I got pregnant in 3 weeks. And they hear this stuff, but they don't do anything about it. They don't investigate it. It's close to malpractice. And
Mhm.
I'm always going to call them out on that. I'm always going to call them, because thank God that we have those specialists doing what they're doing, and they know more than anyone else about their little niche, but they need to open their eyes and look and see. I'm in the process of writing my next book. And the working title, I don't know what the title will be, but the working title is Healthy Conception, Healthy Pregnancy, Healthy Delivery, Happy Baby.
Wow.
So, and there's so many studies in France, couples going to fertility clinics. Every single man, the average for every single man was that their glyphosate levels in their semen is fourfold higher than the glyphosate levels in their urine or their
Wow.
blood. I'm sorry, in their blood. Fourfold higher. Glyphosate is accumulating in the hormone loving cells. That's why
Right.
it's an endocrine disruptor. So it accumulates in the testicles, it accumulates in the ovaries, it accumulates in the endometrium of the uterus, which is why women are inflamed on the inside of their uterus, because the immune system says, whoa, what's that? That's not good for me. I better fight that. And that's
Mhm.
chronic endometritis. And
Mhm.
so you see all of this science, and you just can't ignore it. You can bury your head in the sand if you want to, but if that's the case, excuse me, shame on you
Yeah.
to these fertility specialists. Not
Mhm.
holding back anymore. Too many
Yeah.
couples are suffering. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars, and they're not being told some simple things. There's simple tests that can help you see what is your current level of inflammation. Simple,
Mhm.
easy, relatively inexpensive. And then you
Mm.
find out, so
What are some of your favorite markers to detect inflammation levels?
yeah, the first one is galectin 3. That's at LabCorp, Quest. Vibrant will soon have a galectin 3 out. And galectin 3 is at the head gates of all inflammation of the innate immune system. It's the number one thing that gets elevated first. And then galectin-3 activates NF-kappa B, IL-6, tumor necrosis factor, IL-1 beta. But galectin-3 is the first one. And I didn't know anything about this until last year. I was embarrassed. I'd never heard of this. And this
Yeah.
shows you the state of all of this because, I did this docuseries, The Inflammation Equation, which is at theinflammationequation.com. It's free. Please go there, register. We send it to you. It's all free. Little plug, because you're going to learn where the inflammation comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And for that series, I went to 7 countries, interviewed 64 world leaders, literally world leaders. And one of my previous staff kept calling and kept emailing me. You have to interview Dr. Isaac Elias. And I said, who? Isaac Elias. I said, oh, yeah, okay, thanks so much. I didn't know who he was. And then actually it turned out I was going to San Francisco because I interviewed David Furman, who's at the Buck Institute, a great, great guy, and just so much fun to talk to him. And so, all right, I'm in the area. So I called and they completely changed the schedule. And so that we could do it because I was only there for one day. And I just sat and apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. I knew nothing about any of this. And this is primary importance, primary. It was Dr. Elias who identified the significance of galectin-3. It's a simple, cheap, inexpensive test. And then he came up with the protocol to quiet it down. And that protocol is called Pectisol, modified citrus pectin.
Yeah, I use
And
that in my practice.
exactly. There's over 100 studies on modified citrus pectin. And this one, not the cheap stuff on Amazon that's a copycat, but this one called Pectisol, of reversing cardiovascular disease, cleaning the pipes, arresting cognitive decline, eliminating joint pains, skin. I mean, you read this, and I just, wow, wow, wow. I just kept saying, how did I not know about this? I thought I was somewhat up to date. And so to give you an example of how important this is, I went to Italy and I shared the stage with Professor Yehuda Schoenfeld, the godfather of autoimmunity. And I interviewed him afterwards for the inflammation equation. And I'm going to do a little segue here because I'm a geek and you're a geek and you're going to love
geek
this.
Out. We're here.
Yeah. We sat down at lunch before the interview. And I said, Professor, how are you? Nice to see you again. And he looked at me and he said, Tom, we are born 99% human, which means that a newborn baby has a little bit of microbiota in their gut from being in utero. Yes, coming down the canal, they get more, but in utero, from mom's microbiome, they get inoculated a little bit at birth. It's right there. You can identify it easily. We are born 99% human, and we die 90% microbial. And that's like, wild. Wait, what?
Walking bacteria.
That's right. So for people that don't know what that means, it means that there's 100 times more bacterial cells in your body than human cells. The cells that make up your muscles and your bones and your organs and your hair and your skin, all of those cells, you multiply it by 100, and that's how many bacterial cells are in the body. And if these are viewers who have listened to your show in the past, they all know that the microbiome in the gut sends messages throughout the body for health and well-being. It was Michael Gershon at Princeton in 1999 wrote the book, The Second Brain. And he told us for every one message from the brain going down, telling the gut what to do, there are 9 messages from the gut going up, telling the brain what to do. That it's the exhaust of the bacteria. We call them short chain fatty acids and nucleic acids, but they get in the bloodstream and they go to the brain and they turn on the genes to make your brain hormones called neurotransmitters. They're not really hormones, but for this discussion, but it's the microbiota from your gut that turns on the assembly lines to make the hormones for how you think. Are you anxious? Are you calm? Are you excited by life? Are you depressed? That is controlled so much by the balance of the neurotransmitters, your brain hormones, which is controlled by the bacteria in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
One more point
Fascinating.
from Professor Schoenfeld on this. And he said 36% of all of the small molecules in the healthy blood are the exhaust of the microbiome.
Mm.
Over 1/3 of everything in your bloodstream is from the microbiome. And so the question is, why? Why would that happen? Why doesn't it go out in the poop if it's just exhaust? It's not exhaust. I use that term so people can understand. It's from bacteria. It's like the exhaust of a car. But these are short chain fatty acids, nucleic acids that activate genes to control your heart rate and how strong your heart beats, to control your blood pressure, to control your thinking processes, to control your vision. That's why you see all these studies talking about the good guys, the good bacteria, and how much they can help. It's true because they are the messengers that guide the rest of the body on how to function.
Mm-hmm.
So when we grow up on ding dongs and ho hos and Three Musketeers and Coca Cola, and we keep eating that garbage in one form or another, and now there's a whole nother world we'll talk about. That's the toxic chemicals and things. That you wipe out a lot of that good bacteria, and you're just trying to get by. You're trying to survive, and sometimes it ain't easy until you do a test of your microbiome and you say, oh my God, look at this. My diversity is really bad. Okay, Mrs. Patient, let's work on building diversity for you.
But can't you
So,
just take a probiotic if you're eating all that? Isn't that just an
no,
easy fix?
no, you can't. Right. It's cute to think that way. And that is the mindset. If we were to get into the category of mindset of health, mindset of disease, everybody wants the mindset of health. They do. But what they're indoctrinated with is the mindset of disease from the
Right.
pharmaceutical industry. The millions and millions of dollars they spend on advertising every year. So we see all these happy Baywatch babes bouncing around, the hunk guys, and they're as happy as can be, talking about, whatever the disease is and the medication they're taking. And in the background is voice, warning, this will cause hepatitis, chronic liver
Yeah, your arm's
disease,
gonna
and
fall off.
yeah, and nobody listens to the warning because it's so fast and it's words they don't understand, and they're just
Right.
imprinted with the happy faces and the beautiful bodies of people taking the medication, and they're happy.
Yeah.
So we're brainwashed by this. So we're looking for the pill. There is no pill. If you keep wanting the pill, what's going to happen is that it's another topic. In the last 50 years, 70 years, since 1950, we've increased lifespan quite a bit. The average age for men now is about 78. The average age for women is about 82 to 83. Women live longer. But the average healthy lifespan without disease for men and women is 62.
Mm.
It's the same as it was 50 years ago.
Wow.
So what's happening is that we're living longer. And if you look at the graphs, in 1970, the percentage of the population that was under 70 compared to the percentage of the population over 70 was about the same, about 2.5 billion people, something like that. Excuse me. And then at 1970, you see the lifespan goes up like this. And people are living longer, which is great, but the healthy lifespan stays the same. So that means more people have more disease as they're aging. That's why every autoimmune disease is going up 4 to 9% a year, every single one of them. More infertility, more autism, more attention deficit across the board. And the first reason is because there's more old people who are living the lifestyle that's causing this these diseases.
Right.
And for the younger people, the reason is because mom and dad are so toxic, and then they conceive, and the baby doesn't have a chance. Usually doesn't have a chance if mom hasn't done some detoxing before getting pregnant. Now, that's the only reason I would do this show with you today, because I know you're pregnant,
Yeah.
but I know that you've been detoxing for years.
Hmm.
So you're as clean as can be, I would assume, right?
Here's hoping.
But one would think, right? But these people of childbearing age need to understand. You just have to check. You have to
Yeah.
check and see.
Do not
Um,
guess and do not assume. Get the data.
yeah,
Just get the data. There's no harm in getting it. You're just getting the information to know.
that's right. That's right. And then you can choose what to do once you have the information.
Hmm.
But we've never had a normal come back on a first test.
Hmm.
Never. That
I know what
everyone.
I run for patients. We do mold testing, heavy metals. We check glyphosate. We check, all the major endocrine disruptors,
Right.
hormones, thyroid, inflammation, other inflammation levels. I haven't run galectin-3, so I'm going to definitely start that. Blood sugar, thyroid, iron, all of that. Are there any other ones that you think are good to throw in there? Pre?
A continuous glucose monitor.
Absolutely. Yep.
a,
Do that a lot.
CGM. And that's like a nicotine patch you put on your arm, and with your iPhone, it'll tell you what your blood sugar is right now.
Hmm.
And so when you eat a healthy, gluten-free sandwich with beef and avocado, and then you have a potato salad on the side, and then you check your blood sugar 30 minutes or an hour later, and it's through the roof, you go, oh my God, what happened here? What happened? And then the next day or 2 days later, you go back and you have the same sandwich, no potato salad, and your blood sugar is fine. And then you go back another day or two later, and then you do just potato salad, and your blood sugar goes through the roof. Now you understand in your body, this is what's happening.
Hmm.
That's why I love the CGM, is because
Yeah.
it's simple, it's inexpensive, and no one can argue with it.
Hmm.
Here's the results of your lifestyle, what it's doing to your blood sugar, which controls so much of how your body functions.
Is there one that you like the most personally?
I really like levels.
Levels?
I,
Okay.
yeah, levels. Dr. Casey Means and a couple other people founded this company. She was a otolaryngologist surgeon from Stanford. In her 8th and final year of her residency, she quit. She was doing surgeries every day, world renowned already at that point. She just quit because she saw people were living the lifestyle that keeps causing the problems they've got. And
Yeah.
she wanted to go upstream. What that means is, I call it waterfall medicine. When you get a diagnosis, it's like you've fallen over the waterfall and you fell into this pond, and now you swim up to the surface and and they say, oh, I'm pre-diabetic. I'm pre-diabetic. Oh my God, I've got endometriosis. Oh no. And you're trying to stay afloat, but the water is so turbulent because the waterfall is still falling into the pool. And so
Hmm.
you're looking for the life jacket to stay afloat in the midst of this chaos, this metabolic chaos in your body. And you need a life jacket. Sometimes it's medication. You need medications. They work great sometimes. But what you have to do is, once you're stable in the water, you got a life jacket on, then you swim to the side, walk up the hill, and walk back upstream and look at, how did I fall in the river?
Hmm.
And it carried you downstream. Do you have too much glyphosate? Do you have lead poisoning? Do you have mold toxicity? All the things that you talked about. But that's called going upstream. That's upstream medicine. That's what you practice, what I practice. We're trying to figure out, how come you fell in the waterfall? Not just, how can I help you feel better living in the pond of the
Yeah.
waterfall?
Right. And what pushed you in the water first? It's like it's a whole domino effect, figuring out
That's
what was
right.
the first domino. And you can't change the past, but there's so much you can do to go upstream. And that's the beauty of it. This isn't like, oh, you get these levels, you're screwed. This is where you're at. You can completely change your
Yeah.
health and reverse
Exactly.
most of these things.
It's maybe somewhere, I don't know, I don't know, it depends on what you do and what your doctor wants to do with you, but maybe somewhere around $1,000, for these tests
Mhm.
that insurance won't pay for. They
Yeah.
won't. But now you know. And now you know what's going on. So just make sure you go to a comprehensive doctor like Dr. Lauren, who knows what the heck she's doing, and you do the test. The rule is in God we trust, all others require data.
Yeah. I love
You
it.
know, you don't treat them. And I tell doctors on stage all the time, you don't treat them until you know what you're treating. You can
Hmm.
certainly give shotgun relief because they're in a waterfall pond, help them feel better right now. But patients want to extend their healthy lifespan so that it's much closer to their total lifespan.
Right.
Yes, even Miss Pat, I don't know if you're going to live longer or not. I don't know. I may die tomorrow. I hope not, but I might. But I'll tell you, the quality of my life is great. And I'm 73 and I've got a 4-year-old, knock on wood, but I love the quality of my life because I've been doing this for so long, you
Right.
know.
And there's such a
Uh,
difference between you and your peers of the same age, that's for sure.
I
My
can't
parents,
believe it.
my parents are
Yeah,
73 and neither one of them are on pharmaceuticals. And I think that's just such a
that's your
testament to them.
influence.
They listen to me, their
Yes.
bossy daughter. Um, so, I know that there's some stats that you shared, like, women attending infertility clinics, those with the highest category of daily conventional fruits and vegetable consumption compared to those in the lowest category. Those in
Oh,
the highest
yes.
category had an 18% lower probability of clinical pregnancy.
You want
Um,
me to tell you that study?
yeah, please do.
It was from Harvard, and they published it in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And the editors of the journal said, this is an elegant study using sophisticated biomarkers to demonstrate their point. Now, Dr. Lauren, the editors of the Journal of the American Medical Association don't say that.
Yeah.
They don't say that. So, this is like the good housekeeping stamp of approval, the blessing. This is really important. And so I thought, I better take this one in, and not argue with it. And so they looked at couples at assisted fertility centers and they ruled out all of the known risk factors: smoking, alcohol, exercise, no exercise, high emotional stress on antidepressants, anti anxiety, race, financial status. They ruled all of that out and they looked at one thing and one thing only. How many servings of fruits and vegetables is the woman eating a day during the time that she is working with the fertility center on implantation?
Mhm.
And the results were shocking. They divided the women into 4 categories: the lowest number of servings a day, the next, the third, and the highest. The results were shocking. Well, everybody knows the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the better. No, those in the highest category of fruit and vegetable consumption compared to those in the lowest category had an 18% less likelihood of
Mm.
successful implantation. It's like, wait, what?
Right.
The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the worse the outcome? Yes. And if they did get pregnant, those women had 26% less likelihood of a live birth,
Mm.
more miscarriages, more stillbirths.
So what's going on with that?
There happened to be a subgroup in there of women who were eating organic. In
I'm
that
so glad.
category,
I'm so glad they had that subset.
yeah, me too. I mean, that's the juice of the study.
Yeah, because otherwise they villainize fruits and vegetables. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and in that category, the results were the exact opposite. The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the better the outcome. Because it's the insecticides and pesticides, rodenticides and fungicides that are in the conventional fruits and vegetables at your supermarket, in your tomatoes and cucumbers and radishes and broccoli, which is supposed to be good for you, but it's so full of toxic chemicals. As those chemicals accumulate, you may develop chronic endometritis, and the effort at implantation is not successful because the inside of the uterus, the endometrium, is inflamed because those chemicals are sitting in there. And you think about, so, well, that just makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. And you see so many cases. There's a doctor in San Francisco, uh, at last count that I know of, 340 couples who had gone to assisted fertility centers with no success, 340, and they had all the parts were there. You know, they ruled out some surgical necessities, every single one of them, when they went organic. They had healthy pregnancy and delivery, every single
Wow.
one of them. It's like jaw dropping. That doctor should write up that paper, and it should be on the front page of every newspaper in the country.
Mm-hmm. That's
But
one thing I did consistently, I can say, leading up to getting pregnant. I
yeah,
followed the Dirty Dozen. I did
yeah,
not touch any of those. I
marvelous.
prioritized, quality meats and seafood. And, I prioritize that even more because of the bioaccumulation with these
Right.
companies.
And I would say if you can't get organic all the time, and as you said, you avoid the dirty dozen, that's the next step to do. And
Mhm.
then whatever conventional fruits and vegetables you're eating, you go to trulyfree.com and you get their veggie wash and
Mhm.
you just squirt it. You take the broccoli, and I did an interview with Steven, the owner of the company, a few years ago. He took a big head of broccoli, conventional broccoli, sprayed half of it with his veggie wash, dipped it in a bucket of water, swished it around, and when he took it out, the color was different on the two sides because
Yeah.
it removed over 90% of the surface insecticides and pesticides and wax.
Yep.
So even if you have to eat conventional, lots of fruits and vegetables, but you use a truly free wash. So you
Mhm.
reduce your exposures dramatically.
Mhm. So good. And it's so simple. It's so doable for people. It really
Yes.
is. And wouldn't it be so amazing for those listening who are struggling that they're spending, tens of thousands of dollars with trying to get pregnant and they implement something so basic,
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory diet, they're checking their blood sugar regulation, they're doing organic, and boom, finally it's working. It's
Exactly.
just
Exactly. And
amazing.
for those people who have been spending that money, do the tests.
Yeah. And it's not
Find
just the
out.
woman, right? It's not just the
Yeah.
woman. Men need to
No, men
create what
also.
you call spermatic virility. So
That's
can you
right.
touch on the men real quick?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As I gave you the example of the glyphosate with a 400% increased concentration in the semen versus the blood of the same person, that glyphosate causes DNA damage. So the damage to the sperm, the technical term is oxidative stress. And what it means is it damages the genes in the sperm that dad is giving to mom to form the union of the baby.
Mhm.
Well, it's not high quality sperm. It's
Yeah.
damaged. And so you don't know what you're going to get. And there's some other studies, maybe we'll get to them, of what happens to these children at 7 years old who came from families like that. Their brains never develop properly to their full potential. And they're the
Mhm.
ones with attention deficit and autism and hyperactivity and depression, and
Mhm.
the development of the brain is off. Uh, there is a very famous researcher in Mexico City. And she published a paper 2 years ago comparing 9 to 14-year-olds who unfortunately died of something, 15 to 34-year-olds, and then over 80-year-olds. And all these people had died of something. And they did autopsies on all of them. And the 9 to 14-year-olds have the evidence of Alzheimer's as bad as the young middle-aged people who are half to three-quarters of what the old people are. It's air pollution. There's three different types of Alzheimer's categorically. One of them, the most common one, is called inhalation Alzheimer's. It's
Yeah.
what you're breathing, and it goes right up past the memory center of your brain, right there, and it creates all that inflammation in the memory center of your brain.
Mm.
Just critically important that people check online what's the air quality in the area where they live. And if it's not good, you get an air filtration system in your house.
Right.
And if you have a bi-level house, you get two,
Yeah.
and you make sure there's one in your kid's bedroom at night, or you wheel it in the bedroom
Yeah, I have
from out.
Austin air filter upstairs and downstairs. So
Yes.
important. And a lot of these toxins, like you said, you're getting indoors. It's not
Yes.
necessarily always outside.
That's a whole nother
So
topic.
yeah,
Indoor air pollution is worse than outdoor air pollution, and people
right.
don't know this.
Yep.
And another here's a helpful tip. You've got to clean your shower heads.
Hmm.
Shower heads, when you turn the water off in the shower, the water is up the pipe right on the other side of the shower head. It sits there. And the bacteria that's in the, well, there's no bacteria in the water. Yes, there is. The minute amount of bacteria in the water can start to create biofilms. And biofilms are like hard plastic, like a polymer that protects the bacteria. It's like a shield. And that's where drug resistant, antibiotic resistant bacteria come from. They've got this shield and the antibiotics can't get to the bacteria. Well, you're producing that type of bacteria in your shower heads. If you live in, they check two different areas. They checked Hawaii and Colorado. So hot climates and temperate climates. Every shower head that was over a few years old was loaded with bacteria. So every time you turn the shower on, you get in the shower, you turn it on, you get blasted with millions of toxic bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. And so what you do right now is you just reach in, turn on the shower, and leave the shower door open so some of that stuff gets out of there. You wait a couple minutes, then you get in. But you have to clean your shower heads.
Hmm.
And you have to use a minimum of 8% acetic acid vinegar. You can't use the vinegar that you buy in the supermarket. Amazon has this stuff. It's really cheap. It's really cheap by the gallon. And we buy, I think, 20 or 25%. And you have to be careful. You have to wear a mask when you use that one. But we soak our shower heads in there. We moved into this house. I bought new shower heads. Okay, we've got at least 6 months to a year. And when they checked the new shower heads in Hawaii after 3 months, they were loaded again.
Right.
And in Colorado, at a year, they had some problems, but not a lot.
Hmm.
So if you live in a warm climate like you do, Dr. Lowe, you need to do it every 3 months. You just take the shower head off, really easy to do. Just one wrench and you unscrew it from the pipe. You put it in a Ziploc bag with this vinegar overnight. And in the morning, you just screw it back on again with the wrench. And so it's nice and snug. And then you like reach in and turn the shower on. So, but because it's all vinegar, and you don't want to get sprayed with that. But then your family's good.
Yeah.
But
In addition to a shower filter too, right?
that's right, that's right. Well, as far as I know, the shower filters, like for chlorine, they don't deal with bacteria. I don't know
Right.
if there's
Yes.
HEPA filters for a shower filter. I don't know.
Yeah. So, want to leave our listeners with a few things before we finish up. I love giving people, just actionable things that they can implement. So we talked about going organic. We talked about, the blood sugar regulation. We talked about, getting certain labs done and whatnot. For those who maybe are working with a fertility clinic, maybe they're not working with a doctor just yet, who can run some of these more thorough testing kind of panels. Any other things that you can recommend for them to start to
Sure. Oh,
implement?
sure. They can order the tests on my site. I made it available to everybody. And there's 4 tests I recommend to start with. First one's a total tox burden. Total
Hmm.
tox burden. It looks at, I've got it written down here
Yeah,
somewhere.
we test that on everyone who's doing
Yeah.
fertility.
20 heavy metals, 29 mycotoxins, that's from mold, and 38 environmental toxins, chemicals. So you're
Mhm.
looking at 87 different possible triggers that are common to create inflammation in your body. So that's just a simple urine test, and that's
Mhm.
done on everybody. I won't see them if they don't do the test. I'm not going to waste my reputation.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried Dr. O'Brien and I spent all this money. It didn't work. I still have the same result. You didn't do what I asked,
Right.
right? So I'm
Yes.
not. I'm now at the stage. I'm old enough now. So you know what? Do these tests, and I'm happy to work with you. If that's not
Yes.
what you want to do, great. Good luck.
Yep. We're not a
So
match.
yeah. We're not a match. The first one's a total tox burden. The second one is the wheat zoomer,
Yep.
because wheat is the most common food that people have an immune reaction to, and it causes so many different problems. But also, this test includes the most comprehensive test for leaky gut.
Hmm.
And that's a critical biomarker that you'll be following for a couple of years until you have a nice, healthy gut as you rebuild the microbiome.
And it
So
has the
that's
LPS marker too, right? The
that's
LPS
right.
component.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. The third one is the neural zoomer plus, because it looks at 53 markers of inflammation in the brain. The number one concern that scares the heck out of people is Alzheimer's. Now, they may be 25 and not thinking about it, but they go, "Ooh, yeah, my aunt," or, they understand that. And Blue Cross Blue Shield published in February of 2020, and no one paid any attention to this because that's when the virus came out. But they said, we've got a real problem here. And in the previous 4 years at Blue Cross Blue Shield, there was a 407% increase in the diagnosis of Alzheimer's in 30 to 44-year-olds. 407%. No one comes back normal, but people don't know that their brain is inflamed. So they're still living the lifestyle that's causing the inflammation. So this is one of those markers. It'll take you 2 years before it's normal.
Hmm.
But once you find out what it is that your immune system is fighting in your brain, is it viruses? Is it bacteria? Is it mold? What is it? And then you start working on it, you notice you start feeling better. But I don't recommend people redo the test for at least a year to 2 years, waste of time, because it
Yeah.
takes a long time to turn that around. So that's the third. So it's total tox burden, wheat zoomer, neural zoomer plus, and then the gut zoomer, looking at
Mhm.
your microbiome.
Do you get a package deal when you run all
Yeah,
three?
yeah, yeah. They give package deals now. And
Hmm.
the doctor, if a doctor opens an account, and I encourage every doctor in my talks, I say, look, you don't know the health history of anyone better than you and your wife, your spouse. Do the tests on you. Spend a few $1,000s to do these two tests. And the lab will give you a huge discount because you're opening up an account. So
Right.
it won't cost you very much at all. So
Hmm.
that's what I encourage the doctors to do, to just find out. And if you don't do this, you're burying your head in the sand. Shame on you.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
what I say on stage. People don't like it sometimes, but I don't care. Once they understand these tests are highly accurate, highly
Hmm.
sensitive, according to Mayo Clinic, once they understand that, and if they're not going to do it, they just don't want to know, they're burying their head in the sand.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
then they're
They appreciate,
representing.
you've given it to them straight because then they get the outcome that they want. They live healthier,
That's
they live
right.
longer, they need
That's
to.
exactly right. They extend healthy lifespan closer to total lifespan.
Hmm. That's what it's about. You don't just want to preserve your sick body as long as possible. You want to
That's
have
right.
really joy and health in your life. Are there any, so let's say like for all of those things are going to show an individual plan for people. But
Yes.
other than going organic and all the things we talked about, are there maybe one or two things that are really important for most people that we haven't talked
Sleep.
about? Yeah.
Sleep, quality sleep. When you do the NeuroZoomer Plus and you see how inflamed your brain is, scares you. And then you learn, if your doctor knows this, they just discovered in 2012 an entire new system in the body. Nobody knew about this until 2012. It's called the glymphatic system.
Mhm.
It's the drainage of the brain, of the toxins in the brain cells. It's not lymphatics. There is no lymphatic system in the brain. It's glymphatics. And glymphatics get activated in the midst of deep sleep. So if you're not getting quality sleep, you're not draining your brain of the toxins. It's like
Mhm.
you back your car into a snowbank and the exhaust pipe's full of snow. What do you think's going to happen?
Mhm.
Right? That you've got to have quality sleep. And sometimes it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months to really working with your doctor, or if you're online and you're looking at the Sleep Summit or something else, the sleepdoctor.com or whatever you're looking at, it takes you a few months to find what works for you.
Right.
But once you recognize, wow, my brain is, wow, I've got 26 different antibodies that are elevated to my brain. Holy cow, that's not good. No, it's not. But you can turn it all around, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sleep is an important part of that.
Hmm. Yeah. Essential. And, I encourage anyone listening, you can take this information and just be super anxious and feel like you're going to die and that you're sick, or you can look at it as
Mhm.
information, as something that empowers you and use it as, tools, stepping stones to move towards health. So the mindset part is really important, I think. Because it really, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It can feel like a lot of information, can feel overwhelming.
It
Just
is overwhelming. You're
one little
absolutely
bit at
right.
a time, right? One little chunk at
You're
a time.
absolutely right, Lauren. And thank you for saying that because I know that I come across, I'm like, wake up,
Yeah. Yeah. But we need
wake
it.
up. Yeah. And you have to wake up. But here's the key to success. And this is so critically important. The subtitle to my most recent book, You Can Fix Your Brain, just 1 hour a week to the best memory, productivity, and sleep you've ever had.
That's beautiful.
You allocate 1 hour a week and you tell your family, Tuesday nights after dinner, don't bother me. I'm going to study how we can be healthier for an
Mhm.
hour.
Mhm.
And you go back to the book because you remember I talked about plastic containers and they leach these toxic chemicals into the food, like into your chicken or your pasta that's in the Tupperware. And I give you 3 URLs for glass storage containers. And you go to mileskimball.com and Amazon and whatever the third one was, I don't remember. And you say, I like those. And you order 3 round ones and 2 square ones and one for the pies. And you pay with a credit card and hit send. It took you an hour to do that. But
Mhm.
never again will you poison your family unknowingly where they're accumulating more of these toxins because the food was left over in a plastic storage container.
Mhm.
And then next week, when you learn that nail polish, the phthalates, the chemicals used to harden the nails, are in your bloodstream in 4 to 5 minutes,
Mhm.
and you go to the URLs for organic cosmetics, organic nail polish. And you order some, and you try, I don't like that. And then you order something else. It takes a while, but you find what you like. And then next week, when you remember that I talked about plants, house plants absorb over 74% of the toxins in the air inside your house. And we
Mm.
give you the list of plants. You go to thedoctor.com/plant, and there's the list, right? And you go to the nursery and you get some of these plants, a real simple plant, not expensive at all. And they're in your kid's room and in the bathroom and in the kitchen. And then next week, you do one more thing. And 6 months from now, your friend who you haven't seen in a while says, what happened to you? You look fabulous. What
Yeah.
happened? Oh, well, I decided I was going to allocate an hour a week. And so I changed my containers for food in the kitchen. I changed our water supply. We don't use plastic water bottles anymore. I got a water filter. We got air filtration. I got house plants. I've got organic cosmetics now. And your friend goes, whoa, that's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But you just allocate 1 hour a week. And
Mhm.
that's the way that you can be successful at this.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear the term of bioaccumulation. Well, it's bioreduction. It's just
That's
moving it
right.
in the opposite direction. And your body's designed to be healthy. So when you just remove those obstacles, it's going to go upstream, like we talked about. So
That's right.
I love this. Oh my gosh. Well, I could talk to you all day. Obviously, we have things we got to get to as well, but I'm just so grateful that you spent this time with us again and so generous with your time. Are there any
Oh,
parting
thank you.
words? Anything you want to leave with our listeners before we let you go?
I dedicate every talk on stage to my son. And I show a picture of him and I say, uh, uh, I dedicate this talk to my son because I believe the only way we're going to save the planet is to raise a generation of children that think outside the box.
Hmm.
They think differently because we aren't changing the direction we're going in. So we need kids who aren't going to put up with this, and they're going to come up with the new solutions.
Mhm.
And so I dedicate this today, this interview, to my son and to all of your sons and daughters,
Yeah.
because they're going to change it. So you create the environment for their brains to function as well as they possibly can. And
Mhm.
if you're looking to start a family like Dr. Lauren is now, you learn, what do I do right now to help myself? You never detox if you're pregnant. Do not detox. You can
Or
certainly
breastfeeding, right? Or breastfeeding.
say it again.
Or breastfeeding. You don't detox when you're breastfeeding either.
Correct, correct, correct. Uh, but you do encourage natural detoxification by making sure you're well hydrated. And you
Mhm.
might take a little bit of binders in the gut, some charcoal or something, possibly let your doctor work with you on that. But you have to make sure you're well hydrated. Hydrated. It's the number one deficiency. And for everyone out there, just pinch the back of your skin and let go. Pinch it, let go. If it doesn't go right down immediately, you're dehydrated and you need
Thanks for
more
the
water.
reminder. I had to check my
Yes.
head.
Yes. And look at the size of that thing. You've got a big one there.
Yeah, I drink 2 of them a day.
Nice. Nice. Well,
Right,
that's a
crazy.
model for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, and anyone listening, we owe it to our future offspring. They just deserve to have as many great cards dealt to them right out the gate. So, take your head out the sand and look at the data and 1 hour a week is
Yeah,
not
just
enough.
1 hour a week. That's all.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
all. You
very
can
true.
do that. Everyone can do 1 hour a week. The rest is
Exactly.
overwhelming. The rest is
One less
overwhelming. But
hour on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. We have the time. It's just what are we allocating it to? So,
yes,
well, love you so much. So grateful for you. Thank you
it's a real
again for spending
pleasure.
your time with us. And we'll
Thank you
talk
so
real
much. Real
soon. And for
pleasure.
anyone who wants to follow him, thedoctor.com, THEDR.com. And there's a whole wealth of information on there. So, but we love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.